It's time for the Best of the Burg. We celebrate what makes Lynchburg such a great place to live, work, and play. The Best of the Burg will tell you about the best places to visit, the best food, the best entertainment, and the people that make us proud to call the Hill City home. Best of the Burg is brought to you by Bank of the James, where community and banking come together for good. Learn more at bankofthejames.bank. Here are your hosts, Mary and Biscuit.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Best of the Burg. Mary White along with Anthony Biscuit McAvoy rolling through the month of January. Hard to believe. We're down to the, next to the last week in January. 2025 is rolling on through. We have a great program for you today. Our show is brought to you by Bank of the James, and we're going to be checking in with our friend Jimmy Davis from Bank of the James.
Our first Jimmy Davis of 2025.
It is our first Jimmy Davis of 2025, so we look forward to talking to Jimmy, and I don't know, Biscuit, I might have to send you out to grab some food, because
I was doing it after the show anyway, I can just go ahead and get ahead of it. To grab some food for Jimmy, because he likes to be fed when he's here. But Jimmy's going to have with him Nat Marshall, the Lynchburg Area Youth Sports Initiative, and they have the Unity Walk and Celebration coming up on February 22nd in downtown Lynchburg, and Jimmy and Nat are both very involved in that. And so they'll tell us all about the Youth Sports Initiative and that big walk coming up and all the other events that are going on in the community, some of them through Bank of the James. And then, of course, we have Happening in the Burg, where we just talk about things that are going on. And we are so pleased to welcome to the program as our first guest of the day, Dr. Suzanne Shalet. See, I made a little rhyme there. Dr. Shalet is All Around Equine Veterinary Care. She's a horse doctor, basically, right? Are you kind of a horse whisperer, Dr. Shalet?
Well, I'd like to think that, but really I'm a veterinarian at heart, and I just treat horses.
Okay. So you are veterinary care, ambulatory veterinary care.
Yes.
And that means that you go to them. You go to the horses.
Yes, you call me, give me directions to your farm, and I'll be there.
We had a really, I talked to you yesterday on the phone, and you said that Wednesday had been a busy day for you. And it was a sad day. It was a long day. It was a difficult day. And we saw this story in the news. We had it in our newscast about the situation in Forest, where a horse went through an icy pond. You want to share what happened?
Yes, it was very tragic. He'd been sick for a few days, was recovering, and the person that owns the farm let him out that morning, and he was happy to go out, ran out, started eating grass. And when she checked him later on, she called me and said, "Suzanne, I think he's in the pond." So I rushed over, and yes, he was sadly in the icy pond. Fortunately, Bedford County has an amazing rescue effort for these animals, and Bedford, Forest, and the Boonesboro rescue people came. They were able to get him out. Sadly, we had to put him down.
Just had injuries and that kind of thing?
Well, we don't know how long he'd been in that freezing cold weather. He had to break through the ice when he fell into the pond, and he was hypothermic, and he wasn't getting up. And the owner had arrived by then, and I asked her if she wanted to put the horse down or try to save him, and she said, "No, I don't want him to suffer another minute. Please put him down." Mm-hmm. And that's what happened.
Still, hats off to those crews you mentioned.
Yes, they are unbelievably wonderful, and they know what they're doing.
They had, after you told me about the story, and then I saw it on social media, they had put it on their pages as well, but they're going out there in their boats and in the water and trying their best to save that horse.
Yes, and there must have been 15 to 20 vehicles, trucks, trailers, whatever, and 20 people all wanting to help, and they really wanted to help that horse. Mm-hmm. That was their goal, and they were wonderful.
Mm. Now, we're speaking with Dr. Suzanne Shalet, All Around Equine Veterinary Care. So you go to the folks with the horses. And then, so what kind of things do you then do?
I can do anything you need on your farm, from treating sick horses to doing your annual vaccines, Coggins tests, taking x-rays, doing lameness exams, kind of short of major surgeries such like things like colic surgery, which if I thought your horse needed colic surgery, I would ask you if you were able to refer the horse to a local referral center. And if not, then we will carry on and do the best we can for your horse. But most of the referrals I do are colics.
And you have x-rays as well, if
yes.
you need x-rays.
I have digital x-ray equipment, so we can x-ray your horse's feet, knees, etc. If necessary, we can do thorough, complete lameness exams and figure out, hopefully, where and why your horse is lame, and then be able to treat it.
And purchase exams, is that just what it says if you're thinking about buying a horse?
Yes, purchase exams are very important. I highly recommend them if you're going to buy a horse, whether it's a $500 horse or a $50,000, $100,000 horse. They're very expensive.
Huh?
Biscuit says, you haven't bought a $50,000 horse recently?
I didn't know horses were $50,000.
Well, actually, they can be well over that depending on where you are and what type of horse you're wanting to buy, what you plan to do with the horse. So, but even if they're not that expensive, why do you want to get a horse that might have, say, severe eye problems that are going to affect it for the rest of your life? Only a veterinarian can tell you about that. I check out the horse for lameness. I do a complete and thorough physical exam. And these are all really extremely necessary if you're going to purchase a horse. Like I said, whether it's an inexpensive horse to a very expensive horse, you still have to keep and feed that horse for many years. And you have to be happy with this purchase that you made. So that's why a purchase exam from a veterinarian is very important.
Dr. Suzanne Shalet, you are a proud graduate of the Ivy League, University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine, otherwise known as?
They're calling themselves Penn Vet, I believe, now.
Penn Vet, Ivy League, and it's one of the best in the country.
It is the leading equine referral center in the country.
And so tell us about your childhood. I mean, how did you decide you wanted to be a vet, and then you went to one of the best in the country?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a long story because I didn't go back to school until late in life, but I think I had my first formal riding lesson at around 12 years old, and I saw this farm that I was at, and I said to myself, wow, this is what I like. And eventually I ended up working there and handling the horses. They had an equine swimming pool there. I ended up swimming horses. We had probably 1,000 or more horses come through for that. I eventually got my thoroughbred trainer's license, and so I used to train horses, race them, gallop them. So I was very involved in horses for my entire life. That's what I did 24/7. And then as I got older, my friend and I decided, you know what? We're not making tons of money here. Why don't we go back to school? So I decided to go back to school. And I ended up at Penn.
It sounds like a very, very rigorous program.
Penn is probably the most rigorous program in the country for veterinary care. We had, and I went there a number of years ago. I'm sure it's changed a lot now, but it's still wonderful. But we had everything there. And as far as the equine care and training as a veterinarian, that was done at New Bolton Center, which is in Kennett Square, part of the University of Pennsylvania. It's a 500-acre campus. We had all kinds of horses there, from $1 million horses to, someone that keeps their horse in the backyard and just loves it and wants the best veterinary care. So I saw a lot of things. We often had 100 horses in there as patients. So I'm so fortunate, I feel, to have had all the experiences I had before I went to vet school and to have been able to go to Penn Vet, and get my veterinary degree from there.
Anthony, have you ever ridden a horse?
No. I've been close to horses, but I've never been on top of one.
Dr. Shalet, are you? I remember riding horses a little bit when I was younger, but then I was a little afraid all the time because it didn't look like fun if you were going to fall off. And what is it they say? If you fall off, you got to get right back on.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I have fallen off more times than I would like to tell people. And I've ridden a lot of horses. I've ridden some bad horses that bucked me off, but I'm trying now, as I'm kind of settling down into my older years, I'm trying to get a nice, quiet show horse. I'm a serious competitor in the show ring. I jump 2'6", 3 foot, maybe 3 feet, 3'3", depending on the horse I have. and I am very committed to showing, very competitive as well.
Is that the kind of stuff we see in the Olympics when they're in the ring and they're kind of...
Those are show jumpers.
Okay. That's what you do.
Well, I don't do, quote, show jumpers. I do, quote, hunters. And so we canter around a course, usually 8 fences, and you're being judged by a judge or two. Whereas the show jumpers are being judged as whether they clear a fence or not.
Okay.
Knockdowns are negative.
You're on the horses that just are lifting their legs up really high. Like, is that what they...
No.
No, is that what...
No,
like
I do
prancing around?
No, I do hunters.
Okay.
So after we do our jumping rounds, we go all of the horses in that class go back in the ring, and they do what we call an under saddle class. And the smoothest, most beautiful movers win or get pinned better.
Very nice.
And they're supposed to be quiet horses as well.
How do you choose which horses you're going to ride for competition?
Well, it depends on what horse I own.
Okay.
And I own a young thoroughbred right now that hasn't really shown much, but I'm hoping to get a new warm blood that's a little further along, ready to go to a show now.
And you've also worked with racehorses. Tell us about that.
Yes, I spent over 20 years working with thoroughbreds, racehorses. I galloped them. I had my trainer's license. I worked with someone who was the most premier horseman in the country at the time. We worked together, and we trained thoroughbreds. We raced. We also had thoroughbreds come into our swimming pool from other trainers. The swimming pool was amazing, what it did for their legs and their condition and their wind. I did that for many years, and I loved it.
Are horses naturally good swimmers?
Some are. Mm-hmm. That was a big deal, getting them into the pool. So I'm glad you mentioned that. It was a lot of work. Sometimes they would go right in and start swimming, but no, they had to adapt to the pool. The thoroughbreds did. Mm-hmm. They had to adapt and learn how to calm down and swim, not like they're in a race. And we also got some standardbreds in there who went in a lot more easily and were able to swim a lot longer than thoroughbreds. And the standardbred people like that. The thoroughbred, some horses could go in there for 3 minutes and get all the wind and necessary things from how good swimming is for a horse, or some of them would swim 10 minutes. But usually they came into our pool for about 30 days. When they came in, they were maybe had a bow tendon or a big knee, and when they left, they were a different horse. They looked like $1 million. Their legs were less swelled up from whatever their injury was.
Swimming is great. It's great for people, great for horses.
It is.
We're speaking with Dr. Suzanne Shalet, owner of All Around Equine Veterinary Care, where she comes to you to take care of your horse. What do you think about, are the horses naturally, those race horses, they want to race?
Yes.
Okay.
Their breeding and their bloodlines make them, most of them, want to run and want to win. Not all, of course. Yeah. And that's why we have a lot of thoroughbreds now that people show, because they didn't make it at the racetrack for whatever reason.
Do horses, do they love their owners? Do they have the same bond with their owners as say dogs would?
Well, I don't think it's like dogs, but I'll tell you, as long as I've been around horses, which is most of my life, and now that I'm a veterinarian, the thing is, you walk up to your horse and you put their hand on their neck, and it just gives you something that nothing else does. I love my dogs. They're in my house, and I pet them, but laying my hand on my horse is just different, and I really don't know what it is.
There's a reason that there's so many programs associated with horse therapy.
Yes.
Right? The Brook Hill Farm
yes.
is one where people find that amazing calming or therapeutic benefit from horses.
Yes, I would say therapeutic is a really good word for people that, whether you ride or not.
See, listen, do you hear how many times her phone has gone off? And that's what happens. So I'm going to, while she's answering that, because she says people text me all the time, and she's right. And they're probably saying, Dr. Shalet, I'm listening to you on the radio. But she's letting us know that when you call her, and I'm going to give your number, 540, don't call her right now, 540-874-4893. But when you call her or text her, Like, leave the message, leave the text, and she'll get back to you and maybe do it one more time because she is, as you can tell, a very busy woman.
Sometimes my hands are busy doing something with the horse, or, as you know, if you live around here, reception is not always that great. I don't mind if people call me back a number of times. I don't mind at all. Please call back.
Do you help deliver foals?
Well, foaling horses is I do reproduction, but mare's foaling is a very dynamic process. And if it doesn't happen in a certain period of time, basically, if that foal's not out within 20 minutes, usually there's something severely wrong. And I usually can't get there in 20 minutes. If people say, my mare's having her foal, come. So either when I get there, the foal's out and the mare's happy licking her foal, or something's wrong.
I've always thought that's amazing. The foal comes out, and then doesn't it stand up pretty much right away?
No, but it should kind of sit up and be a little bit alert. Mm-hmm. The mare hopefully gets up and licks the foal, and it should. We would like it to stand and nurse within a short period of time, like 2 to 6 hours, because it has to absorb mare's first milk, which is colostrum, which carries all the antibodies that a foal needs. And after 24 hours, those antibodies are not going to help the foal in its future life. So you might end up with a sick foal, basically. That's a big discussion we could discuss one day, but it's very
That's
important.
One of the things you help folks with. And we're going to be talking to you in the coming months. We look forward to having these discussions and more with Dr. Suzanne Shalet, All Around Equine Veterinary Care. Your website, allaroundequineveterinarian.com. We'll give the number again, 540-874-4893. Texts are coming in. Joe says, Suzanne is awesome. And he wants Biscuit to come over and ride the horse. And then another texter says, Dr. Shalet is the best. She has helped and healed equines who live at, this is at Joe's farm. Is this the same Joe?
I'm wondering if those people are related to each other. And knowing that I'm pretty sure I know who that Joe is, I have a feeling I know who that other texter is.
And then we have a listener telling us that his favorite horse's name was Smurf.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
so,
nice.
Dr. Shalet, thanks so much for being with us on Best of the Burg.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It was fun.
And thanks for all the work that you do in the community to help people with their horses. And we'll give your website here again and number when we come back. But we'll talk to you again very soon. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Best of the Burg continues right after this.
More of the Best of the Burg coming up right after this quick break.
Run.
Welcome back to the Best of the Burg. We want to hear from you. Call or text 846-8255.
Welcome back to Best of the Burg. We love to feature local musicians and artists. That's Dennis Scott, a local songwriter and music producer. It's called Let's Run. You can find his original music on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube, and you can follow him on Facebook at Dennis Scott Music. Anthony, what are our national days?
So we've got some pretty fun ones. Monday is maybe one of my favorites of the year. Was National Cheese Lovers Day. I love cheese.
Then, in other words, that's my day.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Cheese. There's not many things better than cheese. What if you had a go-to? If you're making a charcuterie
it's
board.
impossible. Every one of them except Swiss. I would say I'm not a big fan of Swiss or goat cheese. I like the
that's a very acquired
strong.
taste.
Yeah. I like feta, but I don't like goat cheese. If that makes sense.
That makes sense. I can get behind that.
But yes, cheese. It's one of those things. You're stranded on a desert island and you could only take one food with you. I think it would be cheese.
Yeah.
Although you might have some intestinal troubles, but that's neither here nor there. Okay. What other days?
Tuesday. This one is just interesting. Tuesday was Squirrel Appreciation Day. You ever just taken time to appreciate a squirrel?
No. Who on earth?
See, you're not living unless you're appreciating squirrels.
You know who else doesn't appreciate squirrels is my dog.
Oh, that makes sense.
She can't stand them. She loves every other animal but squirrels.
I think Chase appreciates squirrels, but I can't tell if it's appreciation or, man, if this window wasn't here, I'd be eating you.
Yeah, I think it's the latter.
I think that's what it is, too. And then today, National Peanut Butter Day on Friday. You a peanut butter lover?
Yeah. I prefer crunchy. and I like it with on apples. Mm-hmm. And I like some peanut butter, and I like the kind that's only just the peanuts.
Yeah.
And none of the other sugar and things.
None of the oils and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep. Coming up on Best of the Burg, Jimmy Davis and Nat Marshall will talk about the Lynchburg Area Youth Sports Initiative, big event coming up next month, and much more with them when Best of the Burg continues.
Love us or hate us, we want to know what's on your mind. Drop us a line on our comment line. You don't even have to talk to a real human. Call 333-2009, the 24/7 comment line.
Best of the Burg. Mary White along with Anthony Biscuit McAvoy rolling right through the program here. It's been busy so far, and it's time now for...
Partnering for Good.
LAYSI.
Brought to you by Bank of the
LAYSI.
James. Learn more
Hi,
at
I'm Nat Marshall.
bankofthejames.bank.
And we welcome to the program our guest in the studio, Jimmy Davis with Bank of the James. Hi, Jimmy.
Hey, how's it going? Mary, Biscuit.
It's going...
Bestie Guesty? Does that still have that title?
Well, you're kind of halfway through the show, so you're a half guesty bestie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'll
Is
take
that okay?
No, that's perfect.
And Nat Marshall is here with BWXT, and we're going to be talking about the Lynchburg Area Youth Sports Initiative. So, Nat, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
So, last time you guys were here...
What were we talking about last time we were here?
We were talking about like road trips. And Nat, I remember you telling us that, didn't you take a road trip? Didn't you tell us to?
I think so.
Like you were talking about a road trip when you were a kid?
It was like summer road trips.
Yes.
Do you remember that? It's
yes,
been a
actually,
while.
yes. It was my family has a lot of relatives up in Connecticut,
Right.
and we were every so often, once or twice a year, ride up there. And one cold trip, I was sitting by the heater in the car, and my feet were there. And by 6 hours later, I'm assuming that my shoes actually shrank because these my good brand new Sunday shoes that I had to wear. For whatever reason, it was the only pair of shoes I carried. And so by the time I got there, either my feet had swollen or the shoes had shrank. And for the 3 days that I was there, I'm wearing these shoes that are killing my feet. So.
Somehow, as you were sitting here, I just remembered that we were your road trip story because it was like road trip day or something. So now, before we go, because we have time, we want to talk about LAYSI and the Unity Walk. We were just talking with Dr. Suzanne Shalet, All Around Equine Veterinary Care. Either you guys ride horses? Big horse fans?
No, but I was. Brian gave me a little bit of the lowdown. Well, I don't know what's so funny, but go ahead.
About horses?
Well, no, about your guest and.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Okay. She's ambulatory. Like she comes to folks to take care of their horses, right. And she's been doing it for a long time. Race horses and show horses, and so.
Did you know there are $1 million horses?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Have you watched the Kentucky Derby, Biscuit?
Well, yeah, but I didn't think that they were all $1 million.
Well, wasn't there a horse named Biscuit?
Seabiscuit. He was a Triple Crown winner.
There you go.
There you go. So,
and I have a horse story too from way back in the day. Yeah, my grandfather, who owned a bunch of land out in the forest, had these two horses, Sam and Prince. They were huge horses, and we would be out there. My younger brother and I, we were 5 or 6 or 7 years. These horses looked like they were just gargantuan, huge horses. And we would walk out there, and for some reason, they just loved scaring us. And they would just run after us for whatever reason, And so we had this thing where, as soon as we saw the horse, we'd look around and, see if we could run to the farmhouse and all. But those horses just loved just chase us.
They would chase you. So you're lucky to be alive.
I am,
is what
absolutely,
you're saying.
yeah. And so, I mean, got this nervous twitch every time you start talking about horses. Like Sam and Prince.
That's all right. I'm okay. You brought up horses, and he started looking around.
Where?
Right.
I'm getting ready to run. Exactly.
So, very good. So we are not here to talk about horses, though. We're here to talk about LAYSI. It's called LAYSI, right?
Yeah, Lynchburg Area Youth Sports Initiative.
Okay.
So there's a play on.
So tell us more about the Youth Sports Initiative for folks who aren't familiar with it. And Jimmy, let's start with you, because just the bank's association with this.
Well, I think LAYSI is still a sort of an informal group of a bunch of philanthropic-minded folks that do stuff primarily focused on youth sports. But the bank got involved, I don't know, I guess when you first started just because we saw this need, or we understood the need for the youth in this area to get involved. And a lot of those kids didn't always have the ability to get involved based on whether it was financial or just opportunities that were not there at the time. And, of course, I've been friends with Nat for a long time. I try to follow in his footsteps when I can. And so it's just a natural thing for us to get involved with. I'm very impressed with everything that organization has done.
So the Lynchburg Area Youth Sports Initiative. Nat, tell us more about it.
Yeah, so it was actually the brainchild of Dr. Todd Olson over at University of Lynchburg. He is the women's soccer coach there, and had for many years gone to Africa to really bring his players there to help them, raise up their monies and culture and so on and so forth. And then during COVID, just before COVID, when he realized he couldn't make that trip, he says, well, there's so much of a great need here in Lynchburg. And so he talked to a couple of folks. They led him to me, and I got a couple contacts like Jimmy and others, and I said, let's bring people together and let's figure out what we can do here in Lynchburg. And one thing led to another. We a bunch of put that many heads together, we come up with a crazy name like LAYSI, and then you got folks from like BWXT and Framatome and so many other places, the YMCA, YWCA, Jubilee, the Parks and Rec. So we brought all these people together with the idea of just simply trying to help young people. We felt like, and BWXT is there simply because we felt like, in order to really get the attention of a young person, you have to be able to connect with them. And a lot of times the connective aspect of it is sports. And so you start talking sports, basketball, volleyball, baseball, tennis, and so on and so forth. Then suddenly now you have a platform on which that kid's actually going to listen to you. And so that's what we've been doing for, 4 or 5 years now. And it's been pretty successful. We've got a lot of folks who are connected and realize that we aren't doing this for the money. Many of the things that we do aren't fundraisers. That's the crazy thing about what we do. We aren't a fundraiser, but we help fundraise. And certainly, as we start talking about this LAYSI walk or the Unity Walk, there are some aspects where there will be some money coming in, but it completely turns around and goes out. We're going to be giving kids thousands of dollars worth of gift cards, $15 at a time at Chick-fil-A and wherever else, Burger King, McDonald's, and all that. So every bit that we get through vendors, it costs them $30 to be there. We have a couple of major sponsors. We have Bank of the James, of course, City of Lynchburg, Freedom First, BWXT, and then the Lynchburg City Economic Development folks. So all those are giving monies to support this. But believe me, it all turns around. We send it right back out. So we aren't looking for a hand out, as they say. We're hand up.
I think it's neat that the acronym is LAYSI.
Isn't it a great acronym?
The Youth Sports Initiative. Right. It kind of goes exactly against what the group's all about. And the event that you're talking about that's immediately upcoming is on February 22nd, the Unity Walk and Celebration. So tell us a little bit more of the details of that.
So this will be our fourth annual, and it's going to be held on 5th Street, right there, the circle of 5th and Federal. That's where it starts and ends. And so we'll have a lot of different folks there just doing some great things. As we were doing the planning, people says, "How about this?" I said, "Absolutely, let's bring them on." So it's all about unity. We've fiddled a little bit with the title from time to time, but ultimately, in the day, unity's always been a part of it. And if there's ever a time that we need to highlight that, it is now. So we want to make sure that the basis is unity. It is Black History Month, so that will be a part of it. And certainly the theme for the National Black History is labor. African Americans in labor. And so that will be a big part of it. We'll make sure that we have folks from the Virginia Career Works there, from the Regional Business Alliance, and so on and so forth. So that we can provide an environment where it's going to be fun. We'll have music and dancing,
kind of a block party.
A block party, exactly. But also the aspect that while you're there, you might find out something about a job or career or opportunities that are available. Central Virginia Community College, University of Lynchburg are all there. So opportunities where you might say, all right, I don't have to get a 4-year degree. Maybe not even need to get a 2-year degree, but hey, this certification can get me in at Southern Air or BWXT, and have a life where suddenly everything's changed. And whether you think or want to believe that money is an issue, it is. If you're making $20,000 a year, which is the drop dead number as far as being able to minimally take care of your expenses, versus making $40,000 or $60,000, then suddenly now you can actually buy that car that you want if you're making $60,000. So we are talking about all those things, but that conversation can't happen until the kid feels comfortable with you, trusts you, and says, okay, maybe you are somebody I can trust and believe.
I'm looking at the website, which is LAYSI, LAYSI.org. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the pictures of the kids playing sports, and has some basketball, some soccer, looks like some football.
There was some tennis in there,
some
too.
Tennis.
We
what
did
do you,
that on
yeah,
Pierce
what do you
Street.
find to be the most, what do the kids love the best? Which sport?
There's absolutely no doubt. And we use it all the time, basketball and football. So we use that as our anchors. Say, tell kids that, hey, we're going to have the coaches from University of Lynchburg, Randolph be there, and women's and men's coaches there giving hints about how to play. And by the way, we're also going to have a swimming course or a course on soccer or this and that, so that we're introducing them to some of the sports that aren't as popular to a lot of the kids. Going back again to Dr. Olson with soccer, one of the other primary reasons was that he did not field a JV team. He coaches at University of Lynchburg women's soccer, but also at EC Glass. And so 2 or 3 years ago, he could not field a JV team because there wasn't an interest. And so we suddenly got to say, all right, we need to do something about that. So let's introduce these young people to soccer, to lacrosse, to tennis, to softball, baseball, so on and so forth. And then they can make the decisions. I grew up, again, there's another story here in the sense that I grew up in Bedford County. I grew up out where Lake Vista and all those places were. But before they became Lake Vista and all those things, again, talking about my age now a little bit, I remember when those were dirt roads once upon a time. So that's how far back it goes. Exactly how old am I?
Okay.
So dirt roads, and so I grew up in an environment. My parents worked all the time, so I didn't have the opportunity to really do the basketball and footballs, and so I was what I would call country strong. I just did I was country strong, and I had a lot of potential, but I had no clue how to play basketball or football and all. So when I got on the courts back when I actually had the opportunity, I was just that country bumpkin because I had no clue where's the center go, where's the forward, where's the guard, So I had no clue, so I couldn't really play, And so as I got older, I said, okay, while I had all this natural talent, ability, I just couldn't stand up to those who had been playing forever. So I said, all right, I did with my daughters. My daughters, when they were 3 or 4 or 5, they were in basketball and dance and whatever else. Partly because you got to introduce these things to them early on, so that we laugh as I talked to some of the parents back in the day who played with my daughters. My daughters when they were 2 or 3 were dribbling between their legs and around the back and everything else. And when they were playing kids at 7 or 8 who were now just first being introduced to basketball, they're stealing the ball from them, doing no-look passes and everything else. And the parents are saying, that's just not fair. That is just not fair. I can't help the fact that this is your child's first rodeo here.
Right.
My kids have been playing for 5 years, and so I saw firsthand that the difference between someone who has had the opportunity and someone didn't, and so that's what we want to offer to these kids. The opportunity, whether they are 6 or 16, to really have the opportunity to play. It's one of those things now where we're finding that the folks who are really good have to have other opportunities besides just playing out in the street corner or even at the schools, because so many of them now are traveling, travel teams and so on and so forth. That's the only place you really can hone your skills, but that's a very expensive venture. You go for a weekend, that's a $500, $600 venture by the time you have hotels and food and everything else. And we are trying our very best to provide opportunities for kids right here. We have a basketball tournament on March 15th and 16th that will be huge. We hope that the price is going to be low. Most times when you have those travel team games, the cost just to get in is $500 to $1,000. We've set it at $200 and saying that it's not indicative of the quality, but it's indicative of our purpose in doing it. We aren't here to make money. We are trying to make sure that these kids have the opportunity. So a basketball tournament, and basketball tournaments are huge around here, and I think everybody thinks that they're going to be the next Michael Jordan or wherever. Maybe they will be, but you won't be if you don't have these opportunities.
Well, the other great thing with sports especially is, what it just teaches you as a human being, right? Mm-hmm. It teaches you how to deal with loss or maybe not performing well, or, how to deal with adversity when that stuff comes up. And, for kids to be able to have that opportunity when, maybe normally they wouldn't, given other circumstances that they have in their life, that's massive.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, too, just dealing with success and failure. You got some kids who, early on realize that they can get on the floor and bang their heads and, cry and everything else. But, when you have coaches that say, no, that's just not acceptable, and early on trying to change that perspective of their mind can be a difference. We've seen all the prima donnas out there who've been pampered all their lives because they have a little talent, and then are just bad individuals and bad adults. And so all those kind of things come into play. I think when you're very young and you see people who are volunteering, you have a new perspective of things. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, all right, I saw that person who was a great role model, and I'll try to be the same. I happen to be a Commanders fan.
Yes, that's right.
And I've just been really impressed by their quarterback in regards to as a freshman, as a rookie.
Yeah.
He's just phenomenal in that aspect, and you don't see that from many people. And that's kind of kids that we want to raise.
Yeah, yeah. He's a great role model for the kids and Commanders fans. I know you're excited for Sunday.
Oh, we see. I pretty much. I will say that I didn't think that they were going to be able to make it through last week. Last week. And
I don't think many people did.
Did.
So we're speaking with Nat Marshall and Jimmy Davis, and it's the Lynchburg Area Youth Sports Initiative, or LAYSI. That's the website, LAYSI, LAYSI.org. And you mentioned the March 15th and 16th City on Seven Hills basketball tournament. So we'll be talking about that in the future. But the immediate event coming up on February 22nd is the Unity Walk. And so how can folks get involved? How can you get more vendors, that kind of thing? How do people get involved?
So certainly the easiest way is going straight to our website. We tried to make it completely and absolutely a place where you can go and get all your answers and do whatever you need to do there. So go to that website first. But if not, you can contact me by a half dozen different ways. Whisper or yell real loud, and I'll probably hear you. We vendors, we're asking for $30. Just simply we'll turn right back. We plan on having literally thousands of dollars of gift cards. We have some of our key team players who will be walking around simply watching and looking for kids who are just got great attitudes and looking and doing and asking questions, and we'll have them have the opportunity to receive, these $15, $20, $25 gift cards to a lot of local vendors, Chick-fil-A, Burger King, Subway.
Very
and
popular.
So on. Oh, yeah. So we've already collected $1,700 worth of gift cards. Wow. I would imagine another $500 to $1,000. So $2,000 of gift cards on top of all the kinds of gifts and prizes that we've been accumulating and collecting. And the Yard, which is a new restaurant right there in the circle, they have agreed to provide hot chocolate, teas, coffees to keep people warm. We're going to have a warming tent right there in their area as well to try. Last couple times, for those who were there, remember, it got a little cold, and the wind, the whipping, and so on and so forth. So we're going to figure that out. And GLTC has agreed to bring a bus, and so we'll have another bus there, a large bus. We'll also be a warming station. So we want to keep you warm. And a lot of folks left before I gave out my last prize. I said, I got these great prizes. Where's everybody going? But it was cold, so they were leaving. So we want to make sure that people stick around. The count now is 6 bikes. We got 6 bikes for all ages. Last couple times have been for middle school students. We got young 4 or 5 year old age bikes, middle school bikes. We have that's a number
Great
of things.
Incentives.
Yeah,
Great
yeah.
Incentives.
So we aren't above trying to bribe. That's the word I was looking for. Bribe. Yeah, we'll bribe them.
Nat has been working the bike angle, but he's got that down. He's
That's a big
the bike
incentive.
seeker.
That's a big draw. So thank you both for being here. Jimmy Davis, Bank of the James, and Partnering for Good. Thanks for sponsoring our program. And Nat Marshall helping organize the Unity Walk and Celebration with the Lynchburg Area Youth Sports Initiative. Thank you both so much. And
Thank you for having us.
Talk to you again very soon.
Oh, absolutely. Appreciate it.
Stay tuned for more of the Best of the Burg.
Bank of the James.
Hi, this is Carl Miller from The Carl Miller Show, and you're listening to the Best of the Burg.
Wrapping things up here on Best of the Burg, and this is, as Biscuit says, a super short segment, but what do we have happening in the Burg today, or this weekend?
I'll do one event. This is on Saturday. This is from noon to 2:30 p.m. at the Academy Center of the Arts. They are doing a free education open house where you can go and you can meet some of their teachers for art, pottery, and theater for the youth and adult classes for this upcoming season.
You said it's short and sweet.
It's very short.
But it's another cold weekend. I know temperatures are a little bit warmer, but another cold weekend in Central Virginia. We hope that no matter how you choose to spend it, it's a great weekend for you. We want to thank our guests on this program today, Dr. Suzanne Shalet with All Around Equine, and her website is allaroundequineveterinarian.com. And also, of course, we just talked to Nat Marshall, BWXT, but representing the Lynchburg Area Youth Sports Initiative and their upcoming Unity Walk. You can find out more at LAYSI, LAYSI, LAYSI.org. And of course, Jimmy Davis with Bank of the James, and they support more than 250 local organizations, and they're also the sponsor of our program. So we are grateful to Bank of the James. That's it for this latest edition of Best of the Burg. Again, have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here next Friday at noon. So long.